What's up, sports fans? Welcome back to another episode of Pez's Picks. I'm Jeff Hartman, joined by the man with the picks himself, Pez. Pez, March Madness. It is maddening. How's it going?
Well, we are thrilled that we are surviving, Jeff. We're 4-1 after the first two rounds. I've been following some of the other national people. People putting up donuts in the first round and 0-6. I don't want to drop his name, maybe CBS Sports guy, but there's been this tournament, just like college football this year. It appears to be a realigning tournament that we're all going to have to learn from. I'm actually shocked we're 4-4, Jeff. I was terrified after starting to watch this tournament. So far, we have the smallest amount of upsets, and remember, we talk upsets anything more than 3 seeds apart. So 4 seeds apart or more. We're not counting 8, 9, 7, 10 matchups, but 3 in the first round, 1 upset in the second round. I mean, we've never had this before. The average is 8.5, 9. I think the smallest number of upsets in the history of the 39 tournaments is 6. And it appears that we're going in that direction. We have all 4 number ones go through to the Sweet 16. We have 3 number 2s. And it appears NIL money is affecting this tournament. It's affecting college football, college basketball, just like football. When we look at the big conferences, the SEC and the Big Ten, I believe the Big Ten at one point was 11-0. I think all 11 teams won. So money is obviously affecting college sports, and it kind of scares us and hurts us in Pez's Picks. I don't know if the data that we usually punch is going to be something that we can use going forward. I don't think we're going to see the Grand Canyons and this San Diego, UC San Diego's win anymore. I don't think they can compete, and this is something that bothers us, and I hope college sports gets this thing figured out. If not, we're going to have the rich and the poor, and that's going to be a boring situation.
The NIL, I mean, we've talked about this in football big time, and you talk about the Wild West. That was what you termed college sports. You're saying that this is just as big a problem in basketball as it is in football, or do you think football is worse?
I think for the big conferences, when we're talking the SEC and Big Ten, who are without a doubt the 2 big ones right now,
Yeah.
I think it's showing that with basketball, the NIL might affect it even more. You can dominate now with throwing money at 3 or 4 guys. Where football, you need a lot. You need to throw money at a lot of guys. You can't say maybe a quarterback, but you need a running back. We talk about Carson Beck a lot, former Georgia quarterback, now at Miami. I felt bad for the guy. He had his Ferrari and his Lamborghini stolen in one day, and his girlfriend's Range Rover, who's a college, I believe, basketball or volleyball player. So these people, they're multimillionaires, and I don't think you're going to have that type of player on these minor Division I programs anymore in college football or basketball, especially basketball. I can see through watching this tournament that there are teams that might be able to put out 5 starters not on the court that probably could make this tournament win a game or 2. So, and we talked about a lot of my colleagues this week. Would you take 10 grand to ride the bench at Ole Miss, Michigan State, Alabama in basketball? 10 grand to ride the bench, or no money to go and start for Drake or Creighton? Probably a kid's taking that 10 grand, right? Maybe 20 grand. So, and with basketball, we see this with the NBA. 2, 3 guys can win a tournament. And, Arkansas is a great example. I underestimated, Calipari. We took St. John's last week. Both guys are doing the same thing. But there are 2 guys on that team that came from Kentucky, from Camden, New Jersey. DeJuan Wagner's son. DeJuan Wagner, famous Camden player, big-time college, and, had an injury and illness provoked a kind of short career in the NBA. But their best player's not even playing yet, and he's rumored to be coming back this week. So you can put together these dream teams, and I don't think there's an emphasis on winning regular season games as much as there used to be. I think these guys know the headlines are coming and winning tournament games, winning championships, and the proof is in the pudding, as they say, Jeff. We've got I think right now we've got I think probably 80% of the teams left are SEC and Big Ten, if we quickly look at it, and that to me is a little bit boring. But who am I to judge, Jeff? And we're hoping that this NCAA, whatever it is, and we don't even know who runs this thing at this point. Someone's got to get a hold of this thing, because it's going to make it boring. It's going to make it. Yeah. It's going to make the poor against the rich, and we've seen this happen in Premier League soccer, Jeff. Not to draw too many conclusions of what they do over there in Europe, but it makes it a tough competitive situation for teams that aren't throwing millions of dollars at players.
I think the thing is too is you look at basketball and the structure of NCAA basketball. It's always great because the tournament you have those teams that sneak in, they make noise. You already mentioned we're not having those right now. And then you look at football. If we're comparing those two, it's not apples and oranges. It's more apples to apples. They now are starting the bracket, but you are getting those Boise States that are getting in there and maybe making some noise. So it's a little bit different. Nonetheless, we're excited to be 500 after the first two rounds. It could have been a lot worse if you followed our
Oof.
picks and you followed, which, by the way, if you want the most up-to-date odds, the most up-to-date picks, go to Pez's Picks, at Pez's Picks on both Twitter/X and on Instagram. All right, so let's turn the page now. Let's go to the Sweet 16. What are we thinking?
And this is tough, Jeff, because now we're on chalk, and the biggest on Thursday, the biggest seed left is Arkansas at 10, who, we can start with that game. Arkansas, we're taking them getting 5.5 against Texas Tech. Texas Tech, a fine team, but if we're going to stick to the SEC and the battle that you have to go through to win games in that league, we're going to ride Arkansas. Adu Thiero, leading scorer and rebounder, has not played in either of the first two games for Arkansas. Freshman guard Boogie Fland, great name, Jeff, Boogie Fland. Back in the tournament, the first two games kind of shook off the rust a little bit, lit it up last game. So Arkansas 5-7 versus top 25 teams this year. Texas Tech 1-4, and I don't think Arkansas has played their best game yet. A long shot, not even a long shot, I guess. Probably a good future play right now. I don't have it in front of me. It would be Arkansas to win the national championship. They're playing 7-8 guys, and in college, I think anybody can run, a college basketball game without getting too winded. If they get Thiero back, which looks like he's coming back, he had a little bit of a knee injury. He's practicing. He practiced before the second round game last week, but they didn't play him. I see him playing this week. I love Arkansas plus 5.5. If you want to gamble a little bit, we're all about gambling, Jeff. We'll take the points here on the show, but they're plus 205 right now. Arkansas money line, that tells us a lot as well. A 5.5 point dog only getting 2-1. That tells us that Arkansas, and if they announce that Thiero is playing, I think that line should go down. I love Arkansas in this situation. Texas Tech's never been there. Arkansas Calipari, I mean, this guy, he lives in March Madness. So, and Wagner had a tough game. Dewan Jr., Wani Jr., they call him, a potential NBA guy. We've got 3 potential NBA guys in Arkansas. At Texas Tech, I think it's going to be a little bit too much for him. So starting off, we're taking the biggest seed left at 10 seed, Arkansas plus 5.5 over Texas Tech.
All right, what else we got on Thursday?
Thursday, BYU, Alabama. We're going to stick with the SEC. We'll take Alabama minus 5.5. Bama, number 1 scoring team in America. I mean, they're putting up NBA numbers. They're averaging just under 91 points a game. BYU, 158th defense in the country. They gave up 89 to Wisconsin. Wisconsin's offense is no Alabama. When we look at the RPI, when we look at judge and strength of schedule, BYU comes in at 47. Bama comes in at 2. Strength of schedule, Bama over 100-point harder strength of schedule. 3rd year in a row, Sweet 16 for Bama. So this is a team that's gotten there. There's momentum for them to take it a step further. Deep bench in Bama. I believe they have 6 guys, 7 guys maybe, that could probably start for any of these other teams. They have 6 guys that average double digits. It's a bad matchup for BYU. So what we mean by that, both teams play a high-speed offense. And when you're in a high-speed offense, you better be the offense that's better. So BYU kind of runs an NBA-style offense to try to get up and down the court. Alabama is the fastest team in college basketball. So it's basically going to be a sprint. I'm going to take the faster sprint team, Jeff, and we love it at minus 5.5. When we look at this money line, and we're not big on money lines in basketball. 220, that's a lot to lay on a basketball game. So we'll take the 5.5. I think if Bama wins, they blow this team out by double digits or more. Love them. Bama, SEC, we're going to ride them on Thursday.
Okay. You have a Friday play, don't you?
Friday, and like we talk about, when we look at these games, Chefs, we've got the matchup 6-2, 3-2. We've got 4-1. We've got 5-1, all chalk. So chalk has won. The Sling Man, Jeff, a contributor to our show, a horse betting and seller of all Bob Sacramento goods. He had a perfect left side of his bracket in our gambling degenerate office pool. He had one mistake. The kid went all chalk, Jeff. So we're riding the Sling Man. He loves Michigan State. fantastic coach. I mean, we don't have to talk about this guy. He's been there and done everything. Ole Miss, nice team, the best team in the history of their tournament, their first Sweet 16. And we're going back to data on this one. Ole Miss, solid team. Michigan State, arguably a 1 seed possibly. Better offense data-wise, better defense data-wise. Just about every data point, Michigan State holds an edge. Top 25 records throughout the season. Michigan State comes in 8-2. Shockingly good record there. Ole Miss 4-9. Both are good teams, but experience is going to win this one. Izzo and his team, they've been there. I mean, this team looks to win national championship every year. I love all 3 of these plays, Jeff. And, we kind of learned our lesson last week. Chalk's going to win. And I don't see any reason why we don't stick with these 2 big conferences, the SEC and the Big Ten, and we'll ride the money to the Final Four, and then we'll have to pick. Maybe we'll flip a coin, Jeff. We'll figure it out one way or the other. Well, we'll punch the data before we flip that coin, though, for sure.
What was the spread on the Ole Miss Michigan State game again?
So Michigan State laying 3.5 right now, and that's a line that I think is a fair line, and one that I suspect could move. I'm surprised it's not a little higher. It opened at 4. It's dropped a little bit. Ole Miss catching a little bit of the SEC fire. A lot of money in that league. I think Michigan State, though, at the end, the data just shows it. Better schedule, better results, better offense, better defense. There's no reason not to take this team at 3.5.
All right. So there are your 3 plays. And again, if Pez makes any changes or adjustments, check him out on social media at Pez's Picks, wherever you get your podcast, or whatever platform you prefer. I Instagram or Twitter or X. Now, NBA.
Well, Jeff, before we go, people do these Sweet 16 polls. So a lot of, degenerates out there, you get knocked out of your poll first day, second day. So people jump back in Sweet 16 polls. There's a lot of different gambling. You can pick a team out of the hat. If you're going to play all these games, if you're going to bet them all, and I know a lot of people do that, go out to Chicky and Pete's, famous South Philly sports bar, Jeff, they watch these games. So I want to remind everybody, upsets go down incrementally each round that we go through here. Once you get to the Sweet 16, over the 39 tournaments, we're down to 1 or 2 upsets tops. And once we get to the final 8 and beyond, maybe 1 in those 3 rounds. So we're looking at 2 upsets maybe, and our regard to upset would be 4 seeds or higher. So I think chalk is the way to go right now until it's not. And, you could argue a 2-3 matchup is going to be tough, or 1 versus 3. And, those are things we'll get to in the next round. But right now we've got all 4 1 seeds. We've got 3 2 seeds. The amount of upsets, it's not going to get any higher. I think we'll probably finish with 5, maybe 6. I like Arkansas to win another game or 2. Maybe we get to that 6-7. If they get to the finals, we'll get to that 8, which kind of makes sense. Data generally continues historically to repeat itself. So Arkansas, I'd say, is the best bet. I would go chalk in every other game right now.
All right. So leaving March Madness, going to the NBA, that's been brutal as well. What are your thoughts on the NBA as they wind their regular season down and get ready for postseason play?
Hard to figure this league out, Jeff. And we've been betting this league for a long time. And I don't want to seem like a whiner. We're batting 500. I believe we're 7-8 right now. So we're going to give ourselves 500. You look at some of these results. Chicago Bulls blew out the Denver Nuggets last night, 129 to 119. It just doesn't make sense, Jeff. That has no sensibility behind it. I know Denver's carrying some injuries with it, but and they've expanded the playoff race. So it again seems teams are gearing up for the playoffs. And we've got some teams, Oklahoma is still going for big wins, Cleveland as well. The Lakers, we lost one on them last night. I don't know what the hell happened with that game. Apparently what we have in Lakers, Luka and LeBron are going to carry that show. We just need some guys to make some buckets. Their bench was awful last night. So we're going to try to narrow these things down. Playoffs, things get a little tighter. Defense becomes more important. They call the game differently as well. I like Orlando in the playoffs a little bit, just a little team to give a little nod to. But tonight, we're taking Golden State at Miami. Jimmy Buckets, Jeff, this guy's an assassin when he goes back to teams that dumped him, where he left angrily. Steph Curry and Jimmy Buckets, you could argue are maybe the best 1-2 punch that we have out there right now. Buckets, with Curry being out for a few games, picked up his offense. So we're taking Golden State tonight, -5.5. We'll continue punching these numbers. We got to get a few over 500 before the end of the season. And playoffs, that's a whole different situation. And I think in the playoffs we'll be able to data base this situation a lot more, because right now I don't even know who's playing. we put these plays out, and guys are last minute scratches, and it's important to follow on Instagram and important to do your own due diligence when you're investing money on this league. But right now, we're treading lightly, Jeff. We're treading very lightly. It's not the Wild West. It's like a swamp show, Jeff. These guys, they don't give a damn anymore. I don't know what happened. Oklahoma City does. They're going for their best season ever. We looked at them tonight. We're still taking a look. Could be a last entry. We're taping on Tuesday this week, so Oklahoma City, Sacramento, but a lot of injuries, and when you have nothing to play for, they might not hold these guys out. So we'll see. We'll keep an eye on that.
It's going to be interesting because the basketball, I cannot tell you how disinterested I am in the NBA anymore. It's not entertaining. They don't play defense. They don't try. It doesn't seem like it's just all perimeter shots. And then every now and then they get it down to the power forward and then they just go in and with an easy layup. It just isn't a good brand of basketball to me anymore.
Jeff, you're taking the words out of my mouth. The Philadelphia 76ers put a starting lineup last night of 5 guys. I never heard of one of these 5 guys. They have forfeited the season. Having said that, tough to bet these games because they're going up against the New Orleans team with very little to play for. It's a league we've talked about a lot. If there was relegation, the Sixers are famous for this. They threw away multiple seasons to get Joel Embiid and that bum Simmons from Australia, both told to be a failure. I mean, the process was a failure. So I think if you had relegation, I think there's enough players in the world now to kind of have a junior division NBA, and maybe you drop the bottom 4 teams, 2 from each conference. Maybe we do what English League Soccer does because the motivation's not there. These guys are getting buku bucks more than any athlete in the world. I mean, soccer maybe, but $50 million a year are going to 3rd and 4th best guys on teams that aren't putting numbers up anymore. So I think the NBA, I'm sure they're selling tickets and selling direct TV packages, but like you said, the product, it's terrible, right?
Yeah.
These guys, they're chucking threes. They're not defending, and power to them. They're getting the money, but they have to figure it out. The league's got to figure out something at some point. I think that's got to start hurting the piggy banks of these owners a little bit. I would imagine.
And a lot of times people say, back when Jordan played, that was a long time ago. It was even more entertaining back when like Steve Nash was playing and Dirk Nowitzki, but like that was the Kobe Bryant era, kind of, Shaquille O'Neal with the LA Lakers era. Even you go back to Shaquille with the Magic and Penny Hardaway. It was fun to watch. They actually tried. They played every night. This just isn't it. Not for me, at least. I know there's a lot of people out there that love the NBA, but it's not for me.
And you're correct. And college is going this direction a little bit too. 3-point shooting and defending the 3-point line. There's a lot of data behind doing that. It's making down low players kind of ineffective and not needed as much. So we're getting this hybrid type of player, a 6'8", 6'10" guy that can handle the ball a little bit and shoot threes. And it's not fun to watch. When they're not making them, it's boring, right? It's up and down. It's like all-star chucking from half court. So I hope in the playoffs we get a better product. We did last year. I think the playoffs were very good. Cleveland, Orlando, Indiana, New York, great playoff runs last year. And, the West Coast, we're always going to be scoring points. We've got Denver. I hope LA makes a run. But, I got my fingers crossed in the NBA. I love the NBA. I miss that Allen Iverson, Jeff. Fantastic guy to watch. He didn't practice, Jeff. He didn't like talking about it. That guy left every ounce of energy on the court every game. I mean, every game there was pride to win. I don't think they have it anymore, and I hope it comes back.
All right, let's finish up with some golf talk. Last week, the Valspar Championship, my streak continues. I've now had winners. I had 3 winners in the Valspar. 1 was a bonus play, but still 3 winners, 6 straight events that I've had a winner. Did you happen to see, though? Did you see Billy Horschel's left-handed shot from 121 yards, and he gets up and down for birdie?
I did, Jeff, and this Horschel guy,
I like him.
Tough to like, Jeff, but I like his game.
Oh,
I believe the guy's cried on the course twice, Jeff. And there's no crying in golf. I mean, you can't cry when you're a multimillionaire, okay? Very fit guy, wears the tight shirts, which I appreciate. But that tournament, it said a lot to us. We looked at the leaderboard, and I'm texting with my golf guru, the 6-string punter from JMU 20 years ago. We have the Bridgeman, Bud Cauley. There's a lot of guys that are in these tournaments that, there's something missing in the PGA Tour right now. When Justin Thomas, bogeys 2 out of the last 3 to blow a tournament, it just doesn't seem right. Victor Hovland, better than I do, Jeff. This guy's been awful. I think he was like out of the top 200, and he comes in and wins this tournament. There's something missing in PGA golf right now, and I hope the I hope the major season kicks off in 2 weeks with the Masters. We get back to it. What's up with Scotty Scheffler? This guy's angry, Jeff. We got an angry Scotty Scheffler. Maybe that's a good
Yeah.
thing. Maybe we need that.
Yeah.
Maybe we
And
need.
this to me, and this always happens after the players, you have very spotty fields before the Masters. So the Valspar did have some big names in it. Xander Schauffele looked like he was returning to form. He finished in, I think he had a top 15 finish, something along those lines. You had JT there. You had Tommy Fleetwood. It was a really good field. I thought it was, at least, and it was better than I expected. I thought that the final, the snake pit, holes 16, 17, and 18 there at the Inniswood Resort in Florida, really good. Hey, Jake, you said it. Justin Thomas finished his +2. Victor Hovland finished his -2, and that's the tournament. But yeah, like Bridgman, he's not moving the needle. But those two guys vying for it this week, though. You look at the Texas Children's Houston Open down in Menlo Park. Now they're in Texas, obviously, as they go to Texas for 2 weeks before the Masters. Scotty is in the field. Rory is in the field. And then after that, there's a pretty steep drop off.
There is, but when we look at this tournament and Texas golfing is a different animal, and I assume the wind's going to be up. It almost always this time of year in Texas. So you like to look for guys that are going to be able to control iron shots, keep the ball low. I like betting foreign guys in this tournament. Scotty Scheffler +350. I just don't see that as a good cost benefit analysis investment right now. He hasn't looked right, and he's angry. Rory, who knows? Rory should win every week, Jeff. This may be the best golfer
He
ever.
should. Yeah.
If he's mentally there, a guy that I like, Jason Day +3,500. I keep saying his name for a year and a half now. He hasn't won, but I think that's a good possibility. I like Lowry. I don't know if he's playing this week, but his game's kind of coming around. Lucas Glover, another guy I think to look at going forward. Top 20s every week, Jeff. This guy, he can't lose. A Southern boy. I don't think he's in this tournament, but I'm going to stick with Jason Day +3,500. And I think once we get into the majors, looking at matchups, so 1v1 matchups each day is maybe on day 2, day 3, and 4. After you get a little look at these guys, I think that's really where you can kind of bank your investment on what kind of form they're playing that week and how they're hitting the ball. JT, I don't know how he lost, Jeff. I don't know. I watched that tournament. The guy was smoking it. Snake Pit is a horrible. that course, I think I'd shoot 180 there, Jeff. Too much water. It's set up to really scoop people. But we have good news, Jeff. The Pez's Picks driver is popping the ball. Played a course down in the Jersey Shore called Shoregate this past weekend. I believe it comes in about 130 slope rating, which to golf nerds that means it's super hard.
Yeah.
I believe I shot a 99, Jeff, and that's fantastic for a 130 slope for me. First day out of the spring training, everybody kind of rough day. It was a little windy and kind of maybe some cervezas out there, but neither here nor there. Pop is in the bat, Jeff. We're bending the arms on the take back a little bit now, getting a little bit more turn in me, and the lower lumbar injury, the broken L5, not hurting as much. So I think we're on to something.
Well, I hope you fix your game, and I hope Scotty fixes his game. He's my favorite to win because I just can't imagine Scotty Scheffler heading into the Masters with all that pent up anger and negativity. And so he's looking for his third green jacket. I think he's going to play well. He hasn't won yet this year. +350 sucks for golf odds, but at the same time, you can still win some money.
A guy that you could argue to bet every week in every tournament. Let's go to the bottom, Jeff, because every other week we've had 100,000 to 1 shot winner. So maybe a Camilo Villegas, Jeff. Maybe.
Yeah,
maybe.
He had a good week a couple weeks ago.
100,000. Plus, let's go Camilo Villegas. What's a dollar pays there? $10,000 or $1,000? $1 to win 1,000 on Camilo Villegas. I think that's the play of the week.
So that's who you're taking. If I had to give you like a super long shot, I'm looking here. I got to find someone I even know. You said Camilo, that's +70,000.
I got him at 100 on FanDuel. So get to FanDuel. They're giving us better odds over there.
Yeah, it seems like it. I'm on
this,
DraftKings.
Jimmy Walker.
Your buddy Snedeker's got +40,000.
I think Sneds is gearing up for the Champions Tour.
Padraig Harrington +50,000. There you go.
If it's super windy, we know this guy likes to win, the Irishman. How about Jimmy Walker? I see his name down here as the long shots. A guy that that I don't know if people know his story, a sad one. He got Lyme's disease, I believe. It was a
Yeah.
major winner, and career just tanked. Another reason, Jeff. Let's put the bug repellent on out there in the sunblock. Let's be safe this spring golf season. Jersey Shore, we have no bugs. It was the coldest winter in the last 20 years, Jeff. So golf right now is great. The greens and the rough are rolling, like 10 to 12 on the stimp meters. So big year for us in the golf. That's his picks. We hope to get down there to that area you're in, down there in the Mid-Atlantic, I guess we call it. Play
Yeah.
some good golf down there. Maybe the Greenbrier, Jeff. Let's set that up.
White Sulphur Springs, West Virginia. That's my home state, man. I'd love to go down there. They have some great courses
Love
down
it.
there. Yeah,
Got a
for
secret
sure.
government lair there, Jeff. That was the original nuclear fallout lair that turns out everybody would have died in. So thank God we didn't need it.
The bunker. Yeah, it is
The
there.
bunker.
It's underneath the hotel. I would love to tour that too. But anyways, Pez, this has been a great show. Any final thoughts?
Well, let's chalk wins this weekend, Jeff. Chalk wins. Let's get that bumper sticker made.
All right.
Chalk wins.
There you go. Perfect. We'll talk next week, man. Enjoy the games. We'll see you.
Later.